am going to discuss about the different learners in marginalized groups. Let's start from A, child laborers and domestic workers. The International Labor Organization, or ILO in short, describes child labor as work that deprives children of their childhood, their potential, and their dignity, and that is harmful to physical and mental development. Child labor is caused by poverty, the lack of education, and the lack of schools. By law, a child is a human being who is below the age of 18. The world counts in 2014. The ILO on child labor that was presented in Geneva in 2017 noted a big decline in child labor over the years, but still presents the following statistics. One of the key results noted in the report is child labor is frequently associated with educational or marginalization. The report was the first to acknowledge the connection between education and child labor. It clearly stated that a large number of child laborers are unable to get an education because of poverty, situations of armed conflict, and calamities. Those children who are able to study are emotionally and physically tired from work and are incapable of gaining much from studying in school, more so doing self study. They also tend to perform below par compared to their classmates in terms of learning achievement. I, ILO in 2016. B. Indigenous people. There is no commonly acknowledged meaning of the term indigenous people. Jose R. Martinez Cobo's study on the problem of discrimination against indigenous populations presented presented a working definition of indigenous communities, peoples, and nations as cited in State of the World's Indigenous People in 2010. Indigenous communities, peoples, and nations are those which having a historical continuity with pre-invasion and pre-colonial societies that develop on their territories, consider themselves distinct from other sectors of the societies now prevailing on those territories or parts of them. They form at present non-dominant sectors of society and are determined to preserve, develop, and transmit to future generations their ancestral territories and their ethnic identity as the basis of their continued existence as peoples, in accordance with their own cultural patterns, social institutions, and legal system. This historical continuity may consist of the continuation for an extended period reaching into the present of one or more of the following factors. A. The first factors is occupation of ancestral lands or at least of part of them. B. Common ancestry with the original occupants of these lands. C. Culture in general or in specific manifestations, such as religion, living under a tribal system, membership of an indigenous community, these means of livelihood, lifestyle, and etc. D. Language, whether used as the only language, as mother tongue, as the habitual means of communication at home or in the family as the main, preferred, habitual, general, or normal language. A. Residence in certain parts of the country or in certain regions of the world. And last, F. Other relevant factors: C. Ab- abused children. The World Health Organization, or WHO, defines child maltreatment as the abuse and neglect that occurs to children under 18 years of age. It includes all types of physical and or emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect, negligence, and commercial or other exploitation which results in actual or potential harm to the child's health, survival, development, or dignity in the context of a relationship of responsibility, trust, or power. Exposure to intimate partner violence is also sometimes included as a form of child maltreatment. WHO 2016 child maltreatment is identified globally as a valid social, public health, and human rights issue. D. Refugees or displaced children. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR for short, defines refugee as someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, or violence. A refugee has a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Most likely, they cannot return home or are afraid to do so. War and, war and ethnic, tribal, and religious violence are leading causes of refugees fleeing their countries. An internally displaced person, or IDP, is someone who has been forced to flee their home but never cross an international border. These individuals seek safety anywhere they can find it in nearby towns, schools, settlements, internal camps, even forests and fields. IDPs, which include people displaced by internal strife and natural disasters, are the largest group that UNHCR assessed. Unlike refugees, IDPs are not protected by international law or eligible to receive many types of aid because they are legally under the protection of their own government. And the last is letter A, children in conflict zones. All wars, whether just or unjust, disastrous or victorious, are waged against the child. Eglantin J. In December 2018, Manuel Fontaine, UNICEF Director for Emergency Programs, said children living in conflict zones around the world have continued to suffer through extreme levels of violence over the past 12 months, and the world has continued to fail them. For too long, parties to conflict have been committing atrocities with near total impunity, and it is only getting worse. Much more, much more can and must be done to protect and assess children. It is said that children in countries that are at war are being used as human shields, killed, maimed, or recruited to fight. The UN has identified six categories of human rights violations against children, known as the six grave violations. These violations include the killing children as soldiers, sexual violence against children, attacks against schools or hospitals, and the denial of humanitarian access. The first four are direct acts of violence against children, and the last are indirect actions that cause harm to children and directly relate to healthcare and health workers. The commission of any of these violations constitutes a breach of international humanitarian law. And that's all. Thank you for listening.